Hi everyone, welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. I'm here at Scrapbook.com to tell you all about the new Tonic Media Glass Mat from Tim Holtz. I'm super excited to be here and to show you all these cool things that you can do with the mat. So let's take a look at it first of all, before I show you some of the things that you can do with it. So it's a large black glass mat. It's perfect to go on any area. So whether you have a craft room like me, maybe you craft on your kitchen or dining room table, you can put this down. It's easy to clean up and you can very easily work on it as well. There's lots of different things we can do. You have this panel here that is gridded. It's 14 by 12 inches and it's gridded in both inches and centimeters. So wherever you are, you have the options to work on it really easily. Then you also have this area over here. This is one of the Tonic Easy-Clean mats, and if I peel this away, it reveals a great glass palette area that has these grid lines on. They're the perfect size for your ink cubes. You can see here they fit on there perfectly, so you can put them upside down. You can put drops of watercolor on here. You could put alcohol inks, all sorts of fun things you could put on here to work with on your area too. And I'm going to show you all the wonderful things that you can do. Just a selection of my products here. There's plenty more you could do with it. It's perfect whether you're a card maker. You can fit your cards on here. You could fit a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper on here, or you could work in mixed media. There's also going to be some accessories that are not yet released. There's going to be a ruler that hooks on the side or the top so that you can have straight lines. And there's also going to be a scraper to clean it with. I played with this last night and cleaned it so easily just with some kitchen towel. But if you have anything stubborn in the meantime, Tim has told us that it's perfectly fine to use a razor blade. Obviously, just do that with caution. So let's have a play and see what else we can do. It's tempered glass, so you can apply heat. We're going to do some heat embossing and drying of things on here. It really is very versatile. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some distress oxides. Let's choose some pretty colours. I'm going to go into, I think, these to start with. So I have the picked raspberry, the wilted violet and the salty ocean. And we're firstly going to just put a little bit of ink down. And you'll have seen this technique, I'm sure, done before. Distress oxides are a little bit different to your regular distress inks. They contain a special chemical that allows them to oxidize and gives you that wonderful matte kind of funky finish to them. We're then going to just spray with some water. I have my Nuvo Mister here. I also have my Tim Holtz sprayer, whichever one works best for you. So I'm just going to spritz these. And what you'll notice is that wonderful reaction that you get in there when you start spritzing them. And that allows me to pick up some paper. I'm going to be using some Bristol Smooth paper for this. You could use any kind of heavy duty paper, and I'm just going to pick up some of those colours. And you can see on there those beautiful colours that start to mix. The great thing with distress oxides is you can build up layers without it going muddy. So this is my Ranger Heat It tool, and I'm going to heat this piece of cardstock to dry off the first layer of colour, and then we'll start adding some more colours in as well. This is a little bit different to a regular heat embossing tool in the fact that it has a lower airflow, so it's not going to move around anything that's water-based. It's just going to dry it for you. So if you do get wrinkles in your cardstock, turn it over and dry it on the opposite side. You'll find it straightens out a little bit. You could also run it through your die cutting machine, a Big Shot, a Gemini, whichever one you have, or maybe the Tonic Tangerine. So that's my first layer of colour, and now we're going to add a second layer, and I'll show you what I mean about using other colours. I'm just going to wipe these off a little bit, and now I'm going to add some greens in. So this is the cracked pistachio, the twisted citron, and I'm going to try some peacock feathers. And again, I'm going to spritz like this. And this time I'm going to concentrate on the other side of my cardstock. If I use regular distress inks, they're more likely to reactivate with this extra colour, whereas here I can add these colours that would normally create mud, and it actually creates these lovely blue and green tones on there. So again, I'm going to dry this off, and then we can go in and fill in any areas. And this really does dry quickly with this Ranger Heat It tool. Now, links to everything that I'm using in this video will be in the video description for you, including links to the media mat, all the inks and all the tools you see me use. So if there's anything that catches your eye and takes your fancy, then you can use those links to easily hop on over to the Scrapbook.com store. And now I'm going to add another layer of colour. So let's go back to our original colours. Again, I'm just going to wipe those off. So easy to clean up on here. So again, I'm going in with my blue and my pink and my purple. Also with the Distress Oxides, you can work on black cardstock and they're going to show up. You probably want to do 2 layers on the black because it is a pigment and dye fusion. But again, I'm just going to go in and pick up some of these fun areas. So you can see there I've got some really gorgeous colours starting to come out, some great patterns in there. Almost looks like I've been marbling. And if something is not drying, or maybe you want to lighten an area up, just dip in with a piece of kitchen towel or a cloth and you can lift some of that colour out to give you even more depth and dimension to this. So this is my finished piece here and you can see all those beautiful colours I've got in. Now another thing you can also do is just add a little bit more water to it. So if I do a light spritz, those droplets of water are now going to oxidize. So I'm just going to move this closer to you. So you can see in here, for instance, where I've added that water, you've got those wonderful oxidized pieces. I'm just going to give this a light dry for a second, and then I'm going to show you a really cool trick to bring back some of that wonderful vibrance you get when your oxides are wet. So if you've noticed, when your oxides dry, given the name oxides, they go a little bit more dull, a chalky finish to them, rather than a bright glossy finish. But you can bring all of that glossiness back that you had when they were wet. So make sure your piece is dry. Like this. And now I'm going to take the Distress Micro Glaze. So this is a trick that Tim showed us at Creativation. Now this was actually designed, this pot, for one of the blending foamies to fit straight in. He really does think of everything for us. But when you then start adding this back into your Distress Oxides, you're going to see all the shimmer and shine that comes back into it. So I'm going to pick out this lovely area in here, and I'm now going to put that Distress Glaze over it. And I'm only going to do it on half of the cardstock so you can see the difference between them. You can also put this Distress Glaze over stencils, which I'll be showing you later on, and what it will then do is resist the distress ink. It dries very quickly, it almost evaporates to dry. It's like a waxy, beeswaxy kind of finish as you put it on. It dries super quick and it seals in everything. So this is now waterproof. If I put water on the top of this, I'm going to move this closer to the camera so hopefully you'll be able to pick up how you get that wonderful glossy finish on this side. And on this side here, it's far more chalky. You see the vibrance here versus the chalky finish on this side as well. So it's a really great thing. And this is now completely waterproof. If I put water on top of this microglazed area, it's going to resist that water and it's sealed. So if you put Distress Oxides on an envelope, pop some microglaze over, and it's then going to be sealed in for you. So let's try it with a stencil as well. So now I'm going to show you another way that you can use your microglaze, and you could use this in reverse as well. But let's use it with Distress inks and I can show you how it becomes that waterproof layer. So first of all, I'm going to take another piece of the Bristol Smooth cardstock. I've got one of my Tim Holtz stencils here, and I have my microglaze again. So grab a little bit onto your blendy tool, rub this across your stencil. Now also you could rub this through the stencil over the top of the piece we created previously, and then you would just have a textured glossy area. So again, another fun way that you could use this. Now I can just about see the outlines of those triangles, but they're very faint, but I know it's there. So I'm going to be using Distress inks this time around, and you'll notice that when I put them down on my mat, they're very different to when I put the Distress oxides down. You've got a pure dye colour here, whereas Distress oxides are that pigment dye fusion. And that gives you that wonderful oxidized chalky effect afterwards, whereas these are just going to give us a pure colour. You could also mix, you could add a few Distress oxides in here, as well as using the Distress inks. They're completely interchangeable. Again, I'm going to spray it with some water to activate the Distress, and I am going to pick up some colour. And what you'll see is how those areas have resisted that Distress ink. You could also pick up a little bit more of that ink. You could lay some towel over the top, give it a nice gentle pat, and lift out, and you'll see it resists it even more once I do that. Now I can dry this off to have a wonderful patterned piece. Let me again grab my Ranger tool here. And this is just going to dry up. These will create wonderful backgrounds. Again, you could layer, you could do wider stencils, and you could do multiple layers of stencils. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's just dry this off first of all. Now one thing, the microglaze, when you heat it, does go a little bit like a hot candle wax or jam, so just give it a couple of seconds to dry. You don't want to burn yourself on there. I'm going to just clear a little bit of this off. And I'm going to grab a different stencil. I keep all my Tim Holtz stencils on this book ring here. This is a Spots and Squares. I really like this stencil. But what I could now do is, again, there's still microglaze on here, is I'm just putting a little bit through here. I've got little raised glossy areas on my piece there. I'm not sure if we can capture that for you, but there's some wonderful glossy areas just down here of the spots and squares. But what this will do is you could either keep it with those wonderful textures in there, or you could go in with another colour. Let's grab a Distress oxide and go in with that as well. I'm going to go with that Picked Raspberry. I love this colour. And what I'm going to do is put some of this Distress oxide down. I'm going to spritz it. Lay some of that colour down. Again, just pat some of this off. And you can see there, I've just got those pink areas that have that spot stencil in. So you can build up layers of different colours as well. So there's lots of different ways you can use your Distress inks and microglaze, and this surface is absolutely perfect. You can see I've thrown water, I've thrown ink, and I've thrown heat at it, and it's worked perfectly. Let me show you some other mediums that you can also use on your media mat. So now I'm going to show you how to use this white side of your media mat. So you have a couple of options here. I've got some Distress ink cubes. You could either put them directly on your mat and then use this as a palette. You could, of course, spritz and pick them up directly to paper, or you could peel this mat off and you can then start putting cubes down. These squares are perfect for your ink cubes. So you can see that I can start putting those pieces down. Again, I could spritz, I could just pick them up with some water on my paintbrush here. So if I move my paper in here, you can see, and I can start creating some wonderful watercolor backgrounds. You can also put your larger pads in this area as well. So they will take up a few more squares. You absolutely can put those larger pad sizes down as well. This is a really fun area to play with, and I've got lots of ideas I'm going to show you in this video of things you can do on this side piece. Of course, you can do it absolutely over here. There's no grooves or anything. It's completely smooth going backwards and forwards, but it's really handy to have this white area just to be able to see exactly what colours you've put down. You could also use a dry erase marker to write on here if you wanted to. If you were using maybe 3 or 4 different shades that were very close together, you could of course just put your markers on here. But let's have a look at some other mediums you could put on here too. So now we're going to work with some alcohol inks, and there's lots of ways you can use this mat. First of all, it's perfect for clear up. You can use alcohol inks on here, and you could just wipe it away with either an alcohol wipe or with some blending solution. But I'm going to try a new technique I thought of when I was playing around with this last night. So first of all, I'm going to put some drops of colour down. So I've got some blue here, and you'll notice it starts reacting on the mat and spreading out. And you are going to want to work reasonably quickly. So I'm just going to quickly pop these drops of colour down. So I've got some purples, some greens, a pink here, and I have a blue. And I'll list all these colours out for you so they're easy for you guys to find. And then in this little dropper bottle here, this is full of alcohol blending solution. And I'm then going to drop some solution on, and you'll see how that starts to react too. And now I have some Yupo paper. This is the Ranger Yupo paper. It's an acrylic paper. It's great fun to work with. And now when I lift this up, you can see you've got these really fun alcohol ink backgrounds. So it's almost like doing a distress technique, and we're getting these rainbows in our cardstock. So you can see there those wonderful colours I've got. Now if you have an area like this, maybe this is a bit too dark for you, you can lighten this really easily. Take some more of that blending solution and start dropping it on, like this. And you can see you get those wonderful pools of colour and how it reacts on there. Now of course you could keep going back and forward and adding some more colours on. You could also pick up some more. Let's try another layer. I'm just going to dry this off briefly. At the same time, I'm going to clean off this side. So I'm going to pick up the excess just with some kitchen towel, and I will give it a good clean afterwards. If you want to clean off alcohol inks, the easiest way to do it is always with either an alcohol sanitizing wipe, you can use hand sanitizer, or just use some alcohol blending solution, and you'll find it comes out really well. I'm going to fill in some of these white areas with some more of that pink and green. I love how those colours look. You'll also see that there's some areas that are a little bit longer to dry, and you could either wait for those, but also Jessica Frost-Ballas, one of my lovely crafty friends, did a video recently of foiling those areas, and they look absolutely beautiful when they're done. I'm going to add a little bit more of this flamingo, and I think I'm going to add a little bit more of the limeade as well. I really like how they reacted together. Not colours I'd normally put together, but I think they look really pretty in this. Then I'm going to add some more of that blending solution. And you also get some beautiful reactions here on your mat as well. And I'm just going to go over this side. So you can see there where I've picked up those gorgeous colours in here. And I'm going to go for another swipe and another swipe down here. And pick up this corner. So you can see that I've got some really beautiful colours on there. Now I'm going to leave this to dry. As I say, you could take some foil over it, and if you watch Jessica's video, she shows you exactly how to get areas like this that are a little bit darker. You can add foil effects in, which are just so pretty. This mat is also great for us stampers. Let me show you some heat embossing, and you can see how much I can really throw at this mat. So I have some Tonic stamps here and their Nouveau Clear Mark. This is their new glue pad. And I'm just going to ink up this heart and stamp it out. I've already pre-used my brush tool on the cardstock, so there's no static here. And I'm going to use some of this gorgeous Nuvo Purple Haze embossing powder. We'll sprinkle that over. Let's get rid of our excess. See on there what beautiful colour. I love all those gorgeous colours of embossing powders on there. So of course it's easy to clean up if you do get anything excess on your mat, but you can also then use your heat tool. And I like the Wagner heat tool, which is so hot. It's one of the hottest out there, but it gives a lovely result. So you can see there, I've heated it on my mat. My mat is still nice and cool. I can put my hand straight there, and I've got that lovely embossing as well. So it gives you a nice even heat as well. You can throw pretty much anything at this mat. You can do mixed media projects and keep heating as you do different stages. You can do your heat embossing. You can use your stamp platform on here or stamp directly, depending on what you wanted to do. For instance, if maybe you're using a StazOn or a bit more of a heavy duty pad, you could stamp over the edges of your project onto here and clean it up really easily. I want to explain a little bit more about this white surface, things you can use on it, and the mat that comes with it as well. So on this side of your mat, you have two options. This is the Tonic Easy-Clean Map. This is absolutely awesome. You can get it in bigger sizes to either go all over your mat or all over your surface. And there are replacements sold as well, so maybe you wanted ones for different things. It is double-sided, so on this side, it's got a sort of glossy side, and when you feel it, your finger almost sort of sticks as it slides along. This side is designed to cling onto your surface. However, if you use it the other way around, the only issue you're going to have is a little bit of staining on your mat, but it will function perfectly well, so don't worry if it's the other side at all. I actually used to always use this side when I was crafting, and then Tim told me that I should actually be using the reverse side. But you can absolutely use either, and they're both easy to clean as well. So I'm going to peel this off here to reveal our glass palette side. And on my tray here, on my mat, sorry, I have lots of different mediums, and you can use all of these on this panel or on your black piece. I'm going to show you a few of the different ways that you could use it. So first of all, we could use it as a palette. So for instance, if you have something like these calligraphy inks, or you have your alcohol inks, you can just pop a droplet down. So I'm going to give this a brief shake, and I'm going to unscrew my lid. And then I could just pop a droplet here of multiple colours, and then I could just dab my paintbrush in and off I go. Again, I could do that with the alcohol inks too. I could also use it for my Nuvo drops. So a great way to do it, and if you had a few of these sheets, you could lay it quite easily down here, put some droplets of Nuvo drops down, and you could make all of your own enamel dots on here. So you can see I can pipe them as large, that will settle in, or as small as I require, and I could just leave those to set for a couple of hours, and I would have all my own custom enamel dots on there. I could also use it with my Aquaflow pens, and I could create a palette or maybe mix some colours in there as well, so you can use it again as a palette for custom colours. You could pop your adhesive down on here too. This is the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and you could just pop a dot down there. And then when I want to glue on a sequin, it's very easy to hold my sequin with my tweezers and use a small tool to just pick them up and pop them on the back, and I can pop it straight onto my project on the mat. Now, some other things is you could actually just put your sequins down. I'm going to just peel off these Nuvo drops so I don't put my arm in them. But it would be great for popping down either some sequins here, so I can pop some out and choose the colours that I would like to use. Or maybe you're working with some glitter. You could take a spoonful of glitter here, and if you only needed small amounts, this is a really good place to start working with those as well. You can then also use it for more mixed media things. So here I have some acrylic paints. These are Dina Wakley paints. I can put some dabs down here like this. And then I can either mix colours or just pick them up with my paintbrush as I go. The same thing I could do with my distressed crayons. So I'm going to just grab one of my crayons out and I can just scribble in here. And again, I've got that palette that I can just pop my finger in and move it around on. You could pop things like your modelling paste down, just grab a spatula and you could quite easily put a dot there to be working with on your project, or maybe you need to pick up some black gesso to go on a project. The same with your Dylusions paints, you could just pop a blob down and you could do the same with any other acrylic paints. I tried it last night with my Art Alchemy paints and it worked perfectly. Now, one other thing I also tried, which was really good fun, were things like the new Dylusion shimmer sprays or the ink sprays. And if you do have these shimmer sprays, I have a bit of a top tip that I learnt with Diane when I was at one of her classes, is you should always turn it. Don't shake it up and down. When you shake it around in a circle, and you'll hear that that ball starts to click, and that's when you're really starting to shake it around. And that stops your little straw getting clogged up. If you have anything with mica powders in, you want to go in the circular motion. And then you can either do, similar to what we did with the distress inks, you can pop a spray down. And then once you put that spray down, you can see that I could then go in with some cardstock. I could maybe put some other sprays down and I could start picking it up. I could paint with it. There are just so many options. You can either do that on the white or you could do it on the black, and you could have some really great fun with it. Thanks so much for joining me here at Scrapbook.com. Do check out all the links in the description below. I hope I've shown you how versatile this mat is and how it really is a crafty game changer. You could use it for other hobbies as well, whether you're a beader, jigsaw puzzles, all sorts of fun things. It's a really great surface to have for any hobby. Thanks so much for joining me. Do check out Hedgehog Hollow as well, and I'll see you again very soon. Happy stamping. Bye.